let us not, and I'm going to say this in a way which I'm looking for the best way to put it across. Uganda is poor. Uganda needs aid. Uganda must get aid in order for it to survive. And therefore, we must take aid, whatever the consequences are. Committee colleagues, we need to be careful. We must not receive money for whatever money we need because we are poor. Therefore, we get money to corrupt our morals, determine our destiny. That's what we are saying here.
So in other words, he's saying that they want to regulate the money that comes in the country. Basically, that's what he's saying.
We are not saying we don't want FDI. We are saying let it come. We want foreign direct investment. And it has been coming. But we are saying if it is coming for these purposes in clause 2.2, if it is coming for the purposes of clause 2.2, please don't bring it. Colleagues, Uganda does not need the money at any cost. There must be a point, I was sharing here, if we are allowed to speak vernacular, there were vernacular ways of expressing what you need to do at any cost, that you can get anything at any cost. You may end up selling more than you can give. So yes, this law is not for purposes of stopping FDI. In fact,
about what is not intended to stop the FDI, that is foreign direct investment. Yes, that's what he's trying to tell us.
If there's, pardon? No. I think that's it may be misunderstood. But what I'm saying is that this law is not about, in fact, if this law has, in your view, the consequence of stopping aid, then we need to rethink it. But if it has the consequence of allowing, if it has the consequence of stopping unwanted aid, then you may want to think about it. So what we are saying here, you need to strike a very neat balance between growth and your security. For example, if we say it's okay for people to recruit, enter into partnership and recruit people, like we say in D, recruit people to promote the interests of a foreigner. For example, we have not had a war here. We've not had a rebel group which has not been supported externally. If we are saying it's okay for us to allow people to recruit for the interests of a foreigner, then that's what the parliament and what we think, but we can find common consensus as a country and say, we are happy to live with it, let's go on with it. So this law is saying, no, if you want to recruit for purposes of supporting a foreign interest, please don't bring it here.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So basically, what you are saying, that if this law is about supporting the interests of the foreigner, then they should think about it. But if this law is about is not about stopping foreign investment. There is what we call foreign investment and what we call supporting the interest of a foreigner. So basically, that's what he's saying, that they should think about it. That is the Attorney General, KIWANUKA. Then we have the State Minister for Internal Affairs. The State Minister for Internal Affairs, that is General David MUHOOZI, who was also thinking about the same act or the same bill, and he was like, unregulated external funding directly impacts the national security, economic stability, and government has a duty to protect its citizens. So that's what basically what David MUHOOZI is saying, that unregulated external funding that regulated has a direct impact on national security. Also economic stability. So the government has a duty to protect its citizens. So that's what David MUHOOZI is saying. So let's listen to him and we see.
Directly impacts national security. Following points outline its rationale and why it is timely and necessary, filling legal and policy gaps. The technical justification for the bill is that it will fill gaps in the existing legislative framework. While Uganda has laws touching on specific related domains, e.g. the NGO Act 2016, the Data Protection and Privacy Act 2019, the Public Finance Management Act 2015, the laws against money laundering and anti-terrorism financing. These laws address explicit subject matters and do not articulate the overarching principle of sovereignty protection. There is currently no single policy document or legislation that declares and operationalizes the nation's right to insulate itself against external interference across the board. Preserving national security and social stability address explicit subject matters and do not. Unregulated external funding directly impacts national security, economic and social stability. The government has a duty to protect citizens from destabilization. The Finance Management Act 2015, the laws against money laundering and anti-terrorism financing. These laws address explicit subject matters and do not articulate the overarching principle of sovereignty protection. There is currently no single policy document or legislation that declares and operationalizes the nation's right to insulate itself against external interference across the board. Preserving national security and social stability. Unregulated external funding
unregulated external funding
impacts national security.
Impacts national security. Ebyokwerinda by'ihanga.
Economic and social stability. The government.
Economic and social stability. So the government has a mandate or a duty to protect its citizens.
It has a duty to protect citizens from destabilization that can be orchestrated or amplified from abroad. Upholding self-determination in policy making. The bill is further justified by the principle that Uganda's policy choices and development path and laws should be determined by Ugandans in line with our country's values and needs. This principle is increasingly important given the instances of external pressure through aid conditionalities as well as
aid.
Regulated non-budgetary support financial inflows into the country. While Uganda remains committed to international cooperation, it must affirm that core national decisions are not for sale. Similarly, Uganda affirms that any acts intended to impose foreign moral or ideological agendas will be resisted. Strengthening governance and accountability. Sovereign state.
Foreign ideological agendas. Okay.
It must also be accountable to its citizens by putting in place regulation on agents of foreigners and
agents of foreigners.
In funding, the bill actually enhances good governance. It is a move to ensure that all actors on Ugandan soil, whether government,
Okay.
or non-governmental, domestic citizens, by putting in place regulation on agents foreign funded abide by the law and operate
Agents of
transparently.
foreigners.
This is in line with the constitutional mandate that all public affairs be conducted with accountability.
All public affairs should be conducted with public accountability. Okay.
Domestic or foreign funded abide by the law and operate transparently. This is in line with the constitutional mandate that all public affairs be conducted with accountability.
Should be conducted with accountability. All public affairs should be conducted with accountability. Yes.
The justification here is that some entities, especially those with significant foreign inflows, effectively implement quasi-public functions in health, education, human rights, etc., and thus should be held to standards of transparency.
So in other words, that is General David MUHOOZI. David MUHOOZI. So what is General David MUHOOZI saying? He's saying that unregulated external funding directly impacts security, economic stability. Okay, it directly impacts national security, economic stability, and government has a duty to protect its citizens. So that is what General David MUHOOZI is saying. So we have another.
What was this?
Okay. Let's see. He's called Philip Karugawa. What is Philip Karugawa saying? Hey, he's trying to break down the Protection of Sovereignty Bill 2026 and why Ugandans should care and pay close attention to what is happening in Parliament. So that's what Philip Karugawa. He's also a lawyer. Hey, let's hear from him.
Fees, whether it's payment to brothers and sisters who are living abroad and who send us $2.5 billion as of last year. Per annum, $2.5 billion. Those are now categorized as foreigners. Okay? So this law makes you, by reason of an international relationship, be an agent of a foreigner. You'll be required to register with the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
First of all, if you're living outside the country, you'll be required to register with the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
As an agent of a foreigner. Before you get the money that has been sent to you, whether it's legal fees, whether it's payment of professional brothers and sisters who are living abroad and who send us $2.5 billion as of last year. Per annum, $2.5 billion. Those are now categorized as foreigners. Okay? So this law makes you, by reason of an international relationship, be an agent of a foreigner. You'll be required.
So in other words, if you're to receive money from where you are, if you maybe your cousin is outside the country, hey, so he's now taken as a foreigner. So you have to register as an agent of a foreigner. What the hell?
You'll be required to register with the Ministry of Internal Affairs as an agent of a foreigner. Before you get the money that has been sent to you, whether it's legal fees, whether it's payment of professional fees, whether it's the sustenance we're talking about, you'll be required to declare the source of the funds.
Yes. That where you get where are you receiving this money from? First in
when you go to the bank to pick it up. That declaration will be a public document that anyone can go and check after, whenever, okay? So that's reason why Ugandans should be concerned. The other issues is that this bill will also restrict our right to talk, to participate in our governance under Article 38, okay? Unless you have permission, you're not going to be allowed to have a discussion like this after this law comes into effect. okay? We will not be allowed freedom of expression, of speech, of association regarding government policy. There are areas that are traditionally reserved for government, health, education, roads, and so on. If you have an idea about PDM, UPE, and you want to make it better, that's prohibited. You need permission.
Oh.
If you want to come up with a policy about conservation of the environment, you, as a private citizen, you will now need cabinet-level approval. This is why we should be concerned. This bill is titled Protection of Sovereignty, but it is taking away our sovereignty.
Philip Karugawa is saying that this this law is going to be taking away our sovereignty.
Sovereignty is out. So that's prohibited. You need permission. If you want to come up with a policy about conservation of the environment, you, as a private citizen, you will now need cabinet-level approval. This is why we should be concerned. This bill is titled Protection of Sovereignty, but it is taking away our sovereignty. The sovereignty is ours. Ensi yaffe. Obuyinza bwaffe. The sovereignty is ours.
Ours.
The executive, the legislature, the judiciary, those are our trustees. We entrust them with our sovereignty and say, govern the country for us. But obuyinza bwani bwaffe. One is to understand the law. Get a copy of the bill. It's online. Okay, it's online. Many people have circulated it. Get a copy of the law. Understand what it is saying. Understand then how it relates to you. Okay, simple tests. Are you an agent of a foreigner? Okay, do you have a Ugandan relative abroad who's sending you money? Simple tests. Does it therefore affect you? How will it change if you now have to go and line up in the Ministry of Internal Affairs for a certificate of registration, which lasts 2 years? It lasts 2 years, then you have to renew it. So understand how it affects you. After that, look for groups. Is it a professional association? Are you a lawyer? Are you an auditor? Are you an architect? There are groupings for those people, professional. You can go through them. Is it a trade association? Are you an importer? The importers who are doing it. Are you a coffee grower, coffee exporter? They are also having their own platform. The musicians, the artists, I like what they have done. They have also put together a very, very powerful petition. Okay? International NGOs also have a group. Get with one of those people and make sure your voice is heard. The deadline for submission of public commentary is 24th, this Friday. This Friday.
Tomorrow.
You can send it by email. The format is not important. Just write. Send your views.
And this is not,
brothers and sisters.
And this is not the first time I've had it. I have had arguments saying that I think people have been saying, oh, why are you making this bill? Because sovereignty belongs to the people of Uganda. We are the sovereign people. And I think that is a misunderstanding of the problem. The other one I have heard is saying you will no longer be able to send your mother money. But as I have said, one of the things that we are establishing here is a principal-agent relationship. If you are sending some money to your ill wife or mother or relative to pay for their medical bills, how is that influencing foreign policy? How do you become an agent of a foreigner when you yourself, is it your mother who is your agent? What are you doing? So it is a bit more extensive, because if we start going into the definitions, what creates an agent, and I know there are some, the definition seems wide. Let me see where it is. But so that one is clearly excluded. If you are dealing in pure commercial interests, where you have disclosed, these are the owners, these are the shareholders, this is where we're investing our money, and this is what we are doing with it, then you have no problem. Mr. Kenneth did say that, why don't you let people disclose voluntarily? But this is exactly what the bill is proposing. The bill is saying you are a foreign agent, and that is why the definitions are important. You are a foreigner, or you are agent of a foreigner.
Isn't the definition, isn't that term traumatizing?
Now, that is where the crux of the matter is, because it is that definition.
Listen, guys, this guy is saying that isn't that term traumatizing? Calling me a foreigner when I'm from my country. So in other words, that's what he's trying to say. I'm trying to get money from my cousin, and you say I'm an agent of a foreigner. Isn't that traumatizing?
That then tells you that, okay, we have identified you as a foreigner or an agent of a foreigner. Now, please go and register voluntarily. Obviously, when you register, it is voluntary. You go and say, this is my registration, these are my activities in Uganda, this is how I fund them, or this is how I do my communication around my activities, and we carry on. Now, the issue, the penalties kick in when one of two things happens. Okay. Either you conduct adverse activities, this is what they have called, I think, disruptive activities.
Disruptive.
You had registered, but you conduct adverse activities, or you did not register and you are conducting adverse activities.
Okay. Let's look at this is becoming serious. I've seen KIWANUKA, the Attorney General. He was having a face-off with the Medad SEGONA. So we want to look at it. Remember, we also have BIREETE. So we have some good videos today for you. So let me see. Where is it? I'm not. Oh, here is it. The hell?
That is for the committee. We can come up with a better nomenclature.
This is you see, for
this is
about the minister giving permission for any additional payment. I think yes, 15.
15, no?
Yes. Why don't I just proceed with my transaction normally, but with the duty to declare?
I think that you talk about 22, that's what I'm being told.
Yes, then you criminalize.
A person or agent or foreigner shall not directly or indirectly obtain, solicit, or receive any financial support, donation, loan, or other assistance from a foreigner, whether in cash or in kind, in the excess of 20,000 currency points within a period of 12 months without the written approval of the minister. You are saying that
we are avoiding a situation where you literally criminalize transactions. You only criminalize activities. Other than seeking permission.
So that is SEGONA trying to
20,000 currency points within a period of 12 months without the written approval of the minister. You are saying that
we are avoiding a situation where you literally criminalize transactions.
So SEGONA is saying you should not criminalize transactions, but you should criminalize actions.
You only criminalize activities. Other than seeking permission, let me transact, I declare, and if I am found not to have declared or even committed a crime, so be it, then you charge me. But the moment you say written permission, you're taking us back to Idi Amin.
Yeah, and not necessarily that everything was bad. I think there was.
So it's like, you don't say that everything Idi Amin did was bad. SEGONA speaks with confidence. You know SEGONA. But KIWANUKA, the Attorney General, is a no-nonsense man.
Some good even then. So, no, I'm telling you that those people who don't look at the past to try and figure out where they're going, even that experience was an experience that teaches us. Now, I think here what they are saying is that if you see, when you apply, you make the application for your registration as a foreign agent, and they are saying that in any given year, if you want to get money, you are a foreign agent. You're registered as a foreign agent. You want 400 million, don't even bother going to the minister. You register as a foreign agent, and they know that so-and-so is there as a foreign agent. That person can get 400 million shillings in a year. And for 400 million shillings, they don't need the permission of the minister. But if it is past 400 million, if your plan in that year is worth 10 billion, then go and get written approval. So,
but you do not find it derogatory to refer to somebody as a foreign agent, even as you speak?
Again, that is for the committee. We can come up with a better
derogatory.
Better
no, this is, you see, for me, I speak law. The definition I'm using here is a definition in law. So that is what I'm talking about. And
22 is not restricted for foreign agent.
That's what I'm reading.
Saying a person.
Or an agent of a foreigner.
Or
shall not directly or indirectly solicit financial support or other assistance from a foreigner, whether in cash or in kind, in excess of 20 currency points.
Yeah, so even when I am not using, because this one now is divorced from two.
Yes.
Even when it's not for purposes of two, so I have no right to solicit except with the approval.
Yes, so if you're soliciting for money from a foreigner, that's what the provision is saying. If you're soliciting for foreign support, past 400 million, get permission, get approval.
No, his point is transaction and what if he actually goes on so that you don't curtail transaction, but he must declare?
Well, I think...
So that business doesn't come to stand still for purposes of seeking permission.
The exception should be for those who are under application.
True. But 22 is not under 22.
Okay. Now 22 is bringing in others
22
outside
is not only foreigner or agent, any person.
No, commits, and if it is, if that is the clarification you went for purposes of 22, that we can do.
That we can.
Because this act, you see, and I think for me it's a drafting thing, because the application of this act, the application of this act in section 2, everything you read in this act should be read to apply to only this. Because this is the application question. So you cannot talk about anything else other than this act only applies to this. So this is the application. So you can clarify it and make it better English and repeat it and say, as stated as per the application of the law. But you see, this act applies to a person who is an agent of a foreigner. This act. So don't ask me, who has no dealings with a foreigner, under this act. I have no business.
Exactly. Now 22 is saying a person or an agent of a foreigner.
So a person still, even the person,
yes,
even the person,
as long as he's doing activities under 22.
Under 22, this it does not relate to my grandmother in the village, who has no dealings with a foreigner. You cannot come.
So your grandmother can solicit from a foreigner.
My grandmother can solicit from a foreigner so long as they are not dealing
activities
under 22.
Okay. I think.
What next? What do you see?
Talk about the minister giving.
Okay.
This act only applies to this. So this is the application. So you can clarify it and make it better English and repeat it and say, as stated as per the application of the law. But you see, this act applies to a person who is an agent of a foreigner. Okay. This act. So don't ask me, who has no dealings with a foreigner, under this act. I have no business.
Exactly. Now 22 is saying a person or an agent of a foreigner.
So a person still, even the person,
yes,
even the
person, as long as he's doing activities under 22.
Under 22, this it does not relate to my grandmother in the village, who has no dealings with a foreigner. You cannot come.
So your grandmother can solicit from a foreigner.
My grandmother can solicit from a foreigner so long as they are not doing
activities
under 22.
Okay. I think.
What?
Okay. That is serious. So we have Sarah BIREETE. Hey. Sarah BIREETE is also talking about the same issue. Hey. Then we also have Solomon Serwanja. was asking different people. So let's see what Sarah BIREETE is saying. Hey.
That has been amended.
Sarah BIREETE.
And I want to begin with you, Dr. Sarah BIREETE. The Protection of the National Sovereignty Bill 2026 is already in Parliament. A notice has been issued for stakeholders to go and present their views. Will you be among those to go to Parliament to submit your views? But also, what is your take on this particular bill?
Well, if I may start with the bill, you know, the title sounds so good. And I think, having read both the draft released on 23rd March and the bill as tabled in Parliament 2 days ago, I am confident that the only good thing in this law is the title, Protection of Sovereignty.
She's saying, in other words, the bill is rubbish. That what is good is just that title, Protection of the Sovereignty Bill. Just that is what is good about the bill.
When you look at the object of the bill, Protection of the bill seeks, or the long title, the bill seeks to, you know, provide for sovereignty of the people of Uganda, designate department responsible for peace and security, register and regulate foreigners and related matters. Whenever there is any situation of lawmaking or legislation, the question that the drafters usually ask is, what is the lacuna? What vacuum exists that you are trying to cure? And this bill lists 3 issues as part of the problem that they think they are trying to cure. And these include interference with development and implementation of government policies and programs, foreign aid to civil society for governance, and use of online platforms by. A good thing in this law is the title, Protection of Sovereignty. When you look at the object of the bill, Protection of the bill seeks, or the long title, the bill seeks to, you know, provide for sovereignty of the people of Uganda, designate department responsible for peace and security, register and regulate foreigners and related matters. Whenever there is any situation of lawmaking or legislation, the question that the drafters usually ask is, what is the lacuna? What vacuum exists that you are trying to cure?
Okay.
And this bill lists 3 issues as part of the problem that they think they are trying to cure. And these include interference with development and implementation of government policies and programs, foreign aid to civil society for governance, and use of online platforms by foreigners and agents of foreigners. Furthermore, there is inadequate regulation of civil society. The bill says so. In law, if there is a lacuna, for example, civil society, there is a lacuna with the regulation of civil society. We have the NGO Act that has been amended in 2024. We have NGO regulations, we have NGO policy, but also the NGO Act is not implemented in isolation. It's implemented together with other laws, including the Anti-Money Laundering Act, Terrorism Act, in regulating financial flows. Banks that receive funding from abroad are regulated under the Banking Institutions Act and also Bank of Uganda Act, the supervisor of the banking sector. So when you say that there's a lacuna with the regulation of civil society, can you state that lacuna? And then can you go and visit these laws and see and cure that lacuna in these laws through amendment? If you want to regulate and cross civil society, go in the NGO Act and put that. If you want to deregister civil society in Uganda, go to the constitution, amend it, and say there will be no civil society in Uganda. But hide behind protection of sovereignty that you want to control civil society. Why don't you go to the law managing civil society and amend it and put whatever you want to put? Away from that, there are two dangerous definitions that are far broad, restrictive, overreaching, that will cross the social, economic, and political space in Uganda. First is who is a foreigner. The bill says a foreigner includes a non-Ugandan citizen. That's a given. A Ugandan citizen residing outside Uganda. Even you, Kenneth, if you traveled to Kenya today, tomorrow you will be declared a foreigner, because it does not take how many days or period you have to reside outside the country. So when you cross our border, you will be a foreigner according to this law. Because
but I think somewhere they said that after 3 months, when you're outside the country, after 3 months, then you'll be regarded as a foreigner. So I don't think it is 1 day, but maybe I got it wrong.
If you go and come back, you don't spend the night.
Doesn't it?
There is no time period. Any Ugandan residing outside Uganda. So we are seeking to declare over 1 million Ugandans living in diaspora stateless. We are seeking to declare Ugandan students studying abroad stateless. We are seeking to declare people who go abroad seeking treatment stateless. We are seeking to declare people who engage in transnational trade to start debating whether they are citizens whenever you leave the country and enter. Because the law does not state residing in Uganda to do what, for what period. All those details do not exist. The law just says any Ugandan residing outside Uganda is considered a foreigner. Our constitution in Articles 9 to 15 categorically states who is a Ugandan by citizenship, and the different categories of citizenship and how one can lose citizenship. This is not one of them, that whenever you travel and leave your country, you lose your citizenship. So it's unconstitutional. The law says government, consulate, of course, diplomatic missions, these are foreign entities, that's a given. A corporation, company, NGO, or any legal entity incorporated and incorporated or registered outside Uganda is a foreigner. An international or multinational organization is a foreigner. Person, institution that the minister may deem fit can be declared a foreigner. So even when you don't travel, Kenneth, the minister can decide and say from now on, you are a foreigner. This is what the road says in its interpretation section. When you got who is an agent of a foreigner, an agent of a foreigner means a person who acts as an agent, representative, employee, servant, or any person who acts in any other capacity at the order, request, or under the direction or control of a foreigner, or a person or any of whose activities are directly or indirectly supervised, controlled, financed by a foreigner. We have declared Ugandans working in diaspora foreigners. These people, through remittances, only last year sent up to $2.5 billion back as remittances. This is family support for their parents and grandparents and siblings. This is money for development. This is money for school fees. This is money for medical care coming in from what we normally call Nkubacheyo. Some are called Kadamas. Some are just called diaspora, like in the US and wherever. Kadamas. So we are saying these people are foreigners. And the money they...
This woman is funny. Yeah, she was like, some are called Kadamas. Kadama.
Sent back, now the $2.5 billion is foreign funding. And for a grandmother to receive money from a Kadama working in the UAE, the grandmother has to go and apply to the minister to be licensed as an agent of a foreigner in order to receive money for medical care.
I think KIWANUKA, the Attorney General, explained very well in this case. He was like, somewhere I heard him saying after 3 months, When you're outside, you are regarded as a foreigner. Then also that if you're receiving money not more than 400 millions, then you are okay. You don't need to register. That you can only register if you are sending more than 400. So I think Sarah Bireete she's telling us that if you just move and you go to Kenya for just one day, you become a foreigner. But I think she was like, okay, he was like, after maybe 3 months, when you spend 3 months outside, you are regarded as a foreigner. Then also when you're to receive more than 400 millions, that is $100,000, that's when you are supposed to be registered. But if it is less than that, the law doesn't work on you. So saying that Kadama, maybe if he sent 2 million to the grandmother, that the grandmother must first go to register, it is not true. From KIWANUKA, the Attorney General. So basically, that's what I can say about this.
Yeah, from the support for their parents and grandparents and siblings. This is money for development. This is money for school fees. This is money for medical care coming in from what we normally call Nkubacheyo. Some are called Kadamas. Some are just called diaspora, like in the US and wherever. So we are saying these people are foreigners. And the money they sent back, now the $2.5 billion, is foreign aid funding. And for a grandmother to receive money from a Kadama working in the UAE, the grandmother has to go and apply to the minister to be licensed as an agent of a foreigner in order to receive money for medical care from their grandchildren working in UAE as a Kadama. What does this mean? That we are likely to have these old judges in the villages being arrested for receiving money when they are unlicensed. Because most of them most likely would not know. Two, we have failed as a country, especially a foreigner. We have declared Ugandans working in diaspora foreigners. These people, through remittances, only last year sent up to $2.5 billion back as remittances. This is family support for their parents and grandparents and siblings. This is money for development. This is money for school fees. This is money for medical care coming in from what we normally call Nkubacheyo. Some are called Kadamas. Some are just called diaspora, like in the US and wherever. So we are saying these people are foreigners. And the money they sent back, now the $2.5 billion, is foreign funding. And for a grandmother to receive money from a Kadama working in the UAE, the grandmother has to go and apply to the minister.
So I think that's what I was clearing on. The Attorney General was like, if you're receiving less than 400 millions, you don't need to go and register. So,
to be licensed as an agent of a foreigner in order to receive money for medical care from their grandchildren working in UAE as a Kadama. What does this mean? That we are likely to have these old judges in the villages being arrested for...
It's not true. Hey, I don't think it is true. Maybe if they receive more than 400 millions from the previous videos and from previous speakers,
receiving money when they are unlicensed. Because most of them most likely would not know. Two, we have failed as a country, especially under 40 years of NRM, to provide proper social protection for the vulnerable, elderly, and poor families or low household income families. These families are only affording decent care through their children who suffer in the United Arab Emirates and other countries, working to take care of their parents and siblings. Now we are putting a punishment that if you travel pay, you are working in Dubai, you are a foreigner. You want to send money to your mother, you need the license of a minister, and you must give accountability. So a grandmother is in the hospital, and our hospitals cannot treat you until a deposit is paid. Media has been reporting about women who die in labor because the nurses refuse to touch them. There is no money. Assuming that the husband of this woman in labor is abroad, then the woman is in labor. The hospital can't treat them. This woman in labor requires a license of a minister to receive money from her husband who is working in Abu Dhabi to be able to be attended to as she gives birth. There is no timeline when the minister should respond to license a foreign agent to receive money from their children or husbands. That's how crazy this law can be. Away from the Ugandans in diaspora who are going to be rendered stateless, you have tourism. I think we received about 1.8 million tourists in the last year, and our tourism had gone up, had started shooting up. Now you are saying that for a tourist in Europe to book a trip with a tour agent here in Uganda, because they book through payment, the agent has to first go and be licensed as a foreign agent. Otherwise, if the tour agent receives money from an intending tourist, she can be arrested for 20 years.
So I think, like I said, she explained to us plainly. In other words, like if you listen to the previous speakers, what they have been saying, if you talk about a tourist sending money to, maybe if it is a oil company or maybe it is an organization, it is coming in for tourism, and they are sending more than 400 millions, then that's when a tour guide will be in trouble through that. So, but if it is just less than 400 millions or $100,000, then that is okay. There's nothing like that or touching someone who's doing that. So basically, that is it.
Or be fined. That tour agent can be fined 2 billion as a person. If it's a company, it's 4 billion, or they can be arrested for 20 years. That's got coffee export business.
So in other words, okay, what she's saying, the penalty for that, if you are caught maybe getting money without registration or not being registered, you're supposed to pay 4 billion. You pay 4 billion, or you get sentenced 20 years in prison. What the hell?
All our coffee exporters are foreign companies. I think about 90%, including the name that sounds local, Kyagulanyi Coffee. It's a British company. This Kyagulanyi Coffee has to now register as a foreign agent, be licensed in order to buy coffee. Because this is money from British. So that will also affect our coffee revenues in the country. When you go to the banking sector, all people, Ugandans working in banks, have to be licensed every 2 years as agents of foreigners. Because with the exception of 3 banks, all our banks here are foreign. The 3 banks which are indigenous, Post Bank, Centenary, and Pride, they also use MasterCard and Visa. And they have Western Union outlets, making them foreigners. So all our banking sector is going to be rendered foreigners. The workers there, including a cleaner, have to be licensed as foreign agents. And the staff, if there is any breach of due diligence, or if a grandmother receives money for medical care without a license of a minister, a direct in the bank can be arrested for 20 years or be fined. The bank can be fined 4 billion or both. That is how absurd this law is.
All right, Dr. Sarah Birete, I have a feeling that after a law is passed, they normally come up with regulations which guide the implementation of this particular law. Don't you get a feeling that probably some of these issues will be outlined? For instance, if I'm a Ugandan and I'm working abroad, maybe I should not be classified as a foreigner because I'm not residing. I've not taken up permanent residency. I'm not a citizen of the other country. So the regulation probably will create a leeway to say a Ugandan working abroad sending money to a relative, that money is not considered as a transmission of money from an agent. Don't you think the regulations will probably address some of these issues?
Kenneth, this is a government law. It's been introduced by government in parliament. It has passed through stages of cabinet. NRM caucus approved.
Yes, they approved it, but still they're still talking about it. I think you've seen where KIWANUKA, David MUHOOZI, also SEGONA made that. Yes, they were just today discussing about the same issue.
It's a government law. So the assumption is that this is a law by the Attorney General, who is the chief legal advisor of government. The questions that we must interrogate is, what are his intentions?
What's the mischief, according to you?
I don't see it. That's why I went through the purpose, the purpose of the law. If you want to cross civil society, go in the constitution and cross them. Go in the NGO Act and cross them. But stop crossing the sector, the economic space in Uganda. If the problem of this regime are NGOs, I want to invite the regime to go to the constitution in the democratic principles and directives of state policy, objectives 5 and 6, and they remove civic organizations. Go and delete Article 38 of the Constitution and other related articles, including Article 17, that mandates that citizens must participate in their government.
Sovereignty bill is becoming sovereignty bill. Members, what do you think about this issue? Hey, let's see what people are saying about this from X. I'm seeing Okukule Luti. The wisdom of the anointed now want to determine and control your morals, not sure whether they have even successfully done that for their families. That is Okukure, African Stella. African Stella is saying, but everything is under interest due to the fact that countries which give aids to Uganda, they give Uganda aids due to their interest in the region. Everything is about interest. Also, you bring this law due to your interests as NRM government, not citizens. So this one is like, all they are doing, it is because of their interests, the government's interests. Then Ragur is like, morals. What morals? The same morals that prioritize MPs' new cars over the education and safety of others, or the same morals that kidnap peaceful protesters just protect your status secure. People here bakambwe n'abasobola. If this law is about protecting morals, then why is it only foreign money being targeted, while huge sums are allegedly used locally to influence MPs' decisions? Are we being told foreign funds corrupt morals, but local political spending doesn't? That is Sekabila Patrick. Hamza Sebunya Jr. Hamza Sebunya Jr. is like, this bill is a disgrace and a blatant power grab by a paranoid regime. Protecting sovereignty, KIWANUKA. You are just terrified of your own people hearing the truth from outside, labeling NGOs, activists, and anyone with foreign connections as foreign agents. How dare you decide what morally corrupting means for Ugandans? Last I checked, corruption, poverty, and dictatorship are the real morals or moral cancers eating up this country alive, and not ideas or money that challenges your failures. 20 years in prison for receiving foreign influence. This isn't sovereignty. It is a dictatorship's wet dream to silence critics, crush opposition, and keep the masses ignorant while you root. Diaspora remittances next. Ugandans aren't children who need Big Brother to filter the world for them. This bill is cowardice dressed as patriotism. That is Hambuza Sebunya. He's talking about Attorney General KIWANUKA. The Jackal is like, ha ha ha. Do we still have morals really? One day, one of you shall be a victim of this law once enacted. Kasita, most of your family members are foreigners. But abantu bakambwe, people are good. Simon is like, oh God, for how long shall propaganda be their go-to remedy to pass repressive laws? They have the and that act and all kind of laws to protect whatsoever morals they perceive to protect. What more morals do they want to protect in the protection of the sovereignty bill? So all people are just directing these words to the Attorney General KIWANUKA. What do you think about this video? Do you think the Attorney General is right? Do you think we need this bill? Whom do you think explained or reacted to this law or this bill to the fullest? Like, share, subscribe, take a candle in the comment section. I have another video. It's like a whole program, 2 hours. People talking about this very video, expounding, talking about every detail of this video. So, of this bill. So, let me see if we get some more likes. Then we can drop that video tomorrow and we see before this bill is passed. Hey, like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Abantu bakambwe. People ask abantu bakambwe. Alex Mwine. Ngichiriwa, sir, you even have the guts of standing to defend something that does not make sense. You guys are just trying to stop activists, NGOs, and NOP from getting funds from their supporters outside Uganda. It is just a dictatorship clothed in sovereignty that you are sanitizing. This is serious. Mr. Chelsea, I'm sure one day they will have to test the same fabricated laws they are making, cause they forget that one day they will be in the opposition side. That the Chirio was. One day they will be on the opposition side and they will test the same fabricated laws. Twinamasco Ambrose is like, it's like saying this baby won't be crying when he or she is still in the womb. Mwalimu Kesi. Mwalimu KS. Honestly, which Ugandan yellow politician has morals? Stinky politicians. Muri abantu bakambwe. Why are people so mad? Honestly, which Ugandan yellow politician has morals? Stinky politicians. The critical thinker. The critical thinker. So what does it take to label money morally corrupt? But wait, do these people think all Ugandans are gullible? People are very sad. I'm telling you. People are very angry. Tobanyumiza. Woody is like, should we remind him of the other monies the government was receiving for the other moral activities? Nae these men. Aha. Christopher Chibirige fachi nensi. Chibirige is like, what have the morals benefited us? What have the morals benefited us? Like, share, subscribe. See you in the next video. Peace.